Hi, I'm Sam Sells, and welcome to my podcast, Clean Money. I like to say investing matters, and my show is to talk with everyday folks that are not only creating great success, but making an impact in society and improving the lives of others. That is my mission, and I want to share my stories and others with you. Welcome to Clean Money. Hey everyone, thank you for joining with us today for another great episode of Clean Money, where we talk about making a difference in the world through our investments of time and resources. If you've never heard of note investing, I've got a special treat for you today. I want you to introduce you to Eddie Speed, who is the owner and president of Note School and Colonial Funding Group. And I expect this will be super interesting conversation for those who like to make money or looking at the real estate market and saying, oh my goodness, commercial real estate is in the tank. What can I do? And we're going to talk about that. But first, let me introduce Eddie. Everybody. So Eddie Speed is renowned as one of the nation's top note educators with more than 40 years of experience. He founded Note School, an esteemed training company that focuses on educating individuals about purchasing both performing and non-performing discounted mortgage notes, which there's a lot of out in the marketplace right now. His structured note investing education has led thousands of students to success. Additionally, he holds the positions of owner and president at Colonial Funding Group, LLC, specializing in acquiring and brokering discounted real estate secured notes. Furthermore, Eddie is a principal in a family of private equity funds dedicated to acquiring bulk portfolios of notes. Eddie, thank you so much for joining the show. You just bring just a wealth of knowledge and expertise.
I'm so glad to be here, really.
So that's the canned, welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. 27 kids.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 64 years old. I started doing the industry in 1980, so that makes it my 44th year in the business. You and I were talking a little bit before. There's some, you're in San Antonio. There's some industry icons around the business. And I kind of got to be their note coach a long time ago, right? And I set up the note system for home investors in the early 90s. Did a lot of business with, people that did a lot of notes, both land notes and house notes. So I think it's important to say, I think, yes, we have a training business, but we're a player coach, right? We are very active in the note business. I think we're very highly regarded and respected in the note creation world of people that would sell notes. And so we're teaching what we have learned to be a truth over a long period of time. And at the same time, we make adjustments depending on what the market tells us. We kind of think right now, we kind of think the market's in our favor. So I have 3 grown kids. I have a daughter that's a professional ballet dancer, believe it or not.
Wonderful.
I have a son that is a fireman and paramedic and works with us on the side. And I have another son that has worked with us a lot. And he is a salesperson for an industrial company as well. So I like to think of my 3 kids as using notes as an investing strategy and not necessarily just a note business. They can do it on the side.
So that's wonderful. And I was a firefighter for 6 years, firefighter, EMT. I loved that. Actually got into flipping homes in the early 2000s when I was a firefighter, because we had our off time. And so one of the other fire dogs and myself, we would, flip homes on our days off. It was fun. Good times. Many years ago, 20 something years ago now, 21 years ago. Anyhow, so not to date myself or us at all, could you explain for folks who have no idea what a note purchase is? Can you explain what notes are and why it's advantageous to buy a note? Or could be advantageous.
All right. So to kind of remove a little bit of the weirdness of notes, all of us have been in the note business, because if you've written a check, that is a note. If you've taken a check from somebody and you turn around and endorsed it and then deposit it in your bank account, you've actually sold that note to your bank. So you've taken a note, you've sold a note, you've created a note. Everybody with a driver's license can say, yeah, I've done that, right?
Right.
That is an unsecured on-demand note, right? It's not secured by anything, and it's due upon, saying, hey, this note needs to be paid. We buy real estate secured installment notes, meaning that we buy a loan that is secured by real estate and payable over time with interest. Okay. Specifically, what I would be the most known for, not that that's exclusively what I've done, but what I would be the most known for, because I've bought 50,000 of them, is owner finance notes, right? So a seller of a property, owner finances a property, and then they carry the financing and take payments over time. And when you do that enough, as you well know, Sam, you run out of money.
Yep.
And then you need to sell some of those notes. And that is what I built my career around, is predominantly working with real estate investors, how to make a note, how to structure the deal correctly and safely and compliantly. Then all of a sudden they can sell the note for the most money. And that's kind of what I would be the most known for in the industry. So I'm going to buy a note and fund money up front and receive a cash flow over time, because I became the bank. People make their mortgage payment to us.
Yeah. That's it. Interesting. So when I have a loan on my house and I'm paying a bank, of course, that bank almost always sells the note immediately to another entity.
Yep.
As let's just say, all I know is I bought a house and all of a sudden I get this notification that I have a new loan servicer, which is a little bit different. But let's just pretend that that loan servicer now owns the mortgage on my house.
Yep.
What just happened in the background? How did that note get purchased and how was money made on that?
Well, you're an old seasoned real estate investor,
Oh, yeah.
right? You're in San Antonio, Texas, pretty well known to do seller financing in that neck of the woods, right?
Yeah.
And so you sell a property and you owner finance it,
Mhm.
and you're trying to do a volume. And so you call me and you say, Eddie, can you buy 5 notes from me? Because I need to generate some property to go turn the money over and go do it again, right? So I buy those notes from you, typically at a discount. And of course, the question is always like, how much of a discount? And the question is, how good is the note? So the discounts vary depending on the quality of the note, right?
Right.
But I buy a note at a discount, but I have the legal right to collect all of the note. So I'm going to use my little marking pencil for my computer, right? Just as this represents a timeline, right? This
Mhm.
is 20 years at $1,000 a month. Okay. So let's just say that your note was $100,000. Okay. I might pay you $90,000 for that note with the right to collect $1,000 a month for 240 consecutive months. Right.
Right.
And so you're not going to get all that money, but you got your money today. Right. I'm going to buy that note and I'm going to earn that money over time. Right. So I read, 25 years ago, after I'd done a lot of note business, I said, why don't I have a school? If I could have a school, I could teach people how to do this. And then if I'm out finding your 5 notes, maybe I want to keep one and sell 4. I want to show other people how to do this. And along the way, I started figuring out that, we could then show them techniques that probably they would have never thought about, like never considered, which is, okay, if I bought this in a self-directed retirement account, could I recoup a good bit of my money and then have more money to go buy the next note with?
Mhm.
Or could I build my own little bank using a retirement account or my business account? So I'm going to go back to that analogy, right? Here's our timeline, right? This is 20 years. This pencil just represents time. $1,000 a month. I'm going to pay $90,000 for that note. But this time, Sam, I'm going to buy it in my self-directed Roth IRA account. Now, how many notes can I buy in my self-directed IRA account and not run out of money? Well, maybe not so many. But here's what I could do, Sam. I could sell 12 years of that note for $85,000. Now I have $5,000 invested and I own the back 8 years of that note. So that's an example of financial modeling related to buying notes. And if you ask people who would be like the company that is the most recognized by far in the industry at teaching financial modeling techniques, that would be Note School. That's the type of thing we teach, is showing people how to be the bank. And so I love your business because your business and my business are hand in glove. They're not the same business, but they're hand in glove because people that have high net worth should not invest all of their money in one single thing, right? They should have diversity. And so somebody might say, hey, I want to go give you, $200,000 to go put into the next, park that you're doing. But I've got an IRA that doesn't have as much money in it as I need. And I like Eddie's idea for that because I don't need the money right now,
Mhm.
and I could really turn it up. Now, that doesn't mean you can't buy a note and earn cash flow. That just means that's an example of something that you could do with a note that people would never think of that until they saw that or heard that. And so right now, as you can imagine, uh, we're looking at a market that after the 2008 crash, financial planners developed an industry term. They called it alts, alternative investing to traditional stocks and bonds. And so the thing that got everybody all amped up was multifamily,
Mhm.
right? Everybody's going to invest in multifamily to the point where, let's just be honest about it, kind of steamed up the market a little too hot, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden rates doubled and all these loans started having balloons due. And so now that market is not, it's not getting the upswing, it's getting the other, right? According to all the stats out there. And the other thing are rent houses. Everybody in 2020 wanted to buy a rent house. But now the bank was loaning money at 3%. Now the bank's loaning money at 8% on the same house. Well, the bank got your cash flow
Yep.
because it all went to interest. Well, now I'm just showing people how to be the bank.
So let me ask. I get asked this question a lot, and that's why a lot because I'm in syndication. We syndicate a lot of our deals, not all of our deals, but we do syndicate a lot of deals. Some deals we just do ourselves because they're either small or it's just it's such a favorable deal that we can buy it without any money out of pocket or something like that. When you buy a note, immediately somebody may say, okay, Sam, so I have to come up with a million. So it's $1 million note, or maybe it's 1.2 million. You
Mm-hmm.
negotiate a 20% discount, keep the math easy. It's $1 million. I know that's not exactly 20%, but $1 million, you get $200,000 off, $1 million note, you're going to buy it at $1 million,
Yep.
meaning you're immediately having a $200,000 profit. But do you have to come out of pocket $1 million? How do you structure that for
Well,
investors?
yeah. And first of all, let me say this. Very few small private investors are going to buy that $1 million note.
Yeah.
It's 20 times more likely they're going to buy a $125,000 note than they are a $500,000 note, right? Most of our notes are either on land or houses at this point,
Mhm.
right? Because we're trying to kind of read the commercial market, and it's not, we like your commercial asset class in parks, not so much that we're going to invest in office and multifamily at the moment, right?
Yeah, I'm not buying any multifamily. I'm not touching
Yeah.
it. You
Well,
can't make the
you
numbers
can
work.
also buy office too if you've got the nerve.
Yeah. I love mobile home parks. Like that's where we're making the money.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah,
it's if I can hit a 12% cash on cash there or a
yeah.
14% cash on cash, but I'm in a multifamily and you're like, got to stretch it to get a 4% or
Yeah.
a 5% cash on cash. No, thank you.
So people buy notes either to as a replacement for investing in a syndication, and call it mainly multifamily because that's where people have put the most money, right?
Right.
Or they're doing it as a rent house because they've run the math and the rent house doesn't make any money.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing people pay 40% down on a rent house and it still won't cash flow very good,
Yeah,
right?
that's terrible.
So
That's
so
why I got out
so
of it.
understand what they've now, this proves a thing, and
Hmm.
that is that there are cycles in the industry that are rental cycles, and there's cycles in the industry that are note cycles. And we've reached a note cycle in the market. So I've been doing it a long time. And you're saying, well, Eddie, what did you do when there was a rental cycle? We figured out how to do other things. But we're back to doing, somewhat, you know, Sam, what you did when you started in real estate, because notes were really big back then, right? And so we're back at playing that game, which we know quite well, and the market is very conducive to that. So sometimes it makes more sense to be the bank, and sometimes it makes more sense to be the landlord.
Yeah.
And so right now we're kind of at a point where it makes more sense to be the bank. And once again, we're kind of excluding your asset class because it's very unique and different in
Yeah.
the market. But if you look at rent houses or apartments, most of the time we're going to beat the pants off them right now.
Oh yeah. I I agree. I'm personally have been very interested in notes. We've looked at purchasing some notes in the past because if you can get it at a discount, a lot of stuff's in distress right now. A lot of stuff. The notes expired, but if you bought the note and extended it, so for example, some of these folks are making all their payments, they're making monthly payments, but the investor wants to move on,
Yeah.
right? They're seeing better returns elsewhere. They said this was a 5-year note or a 3-year note. I'm out, give me my money back. And
Yeah.
they're willing to try and take the property in the process, and $10 million of investor capital is about to get wiped off the plate. So if you could come in, buy that note at a discount and keep it,
And
you're
so
done.
here's what we've done. I've been in the business almost 45 years, had a school about 25 years, right?
Yeah.
But we're still active in the business. So we're not just a guru teaching something that we don't do anymore, which is sadly what happens sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen them.
So what people have said, and you know the deal, I've mentioned people that we know very well, in your market, and you and I are mutual friends and stuff. They call me because they need to sell 50 notes.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to buy this deal is not going to buy 50 notes. They're going to buy one, maybe going to buy two. And so we then run a clearinghouse, right? We essentially allow them to, I'll call it rent our back office. Some people call it done for you, right?
Hmm.
They come to us after they've been to our school and they're involved enough that they know how to do this, right? Nobody without knowledge is going to do this efficiently or proficiently, right?
Right.
And so once they learn how to do it, then they say, Eddie, would your colonial side, your colonial business, now that Note School's taught me how to do this, can Colonial help us go find notes? And that's essentially a big model that we run. And
So you
and
guys find the notes for them and they buy it?
yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, I mean, we've learned. We've had a school for 25 years. I used to think if I just taught everybody all that I knew, that's all they needed.
Nope.
You know what I found out? What people want the most is they want their time and they want confidence. Well, after 40, 50,000 notes, we have a little more confidence than they do. And we're in the business every day. And so we're already devoting time to it that they don't have to devote to it. It's
Yeah.
a win-win.
That's a win-win. That's brilliant. So what do you think there's going to be just more and more opportunities to buy notes at discount?
Yeah. Anytime the banks are bad, notes are good. The banks are not good and they're not fixing to be good. The banking situation it's just cusping over the problems. When the elections get over, the truth, like Sam, you're around. Like, listen, I was just dealing with people at a mastermind last week that are dealing with banks in Houston and San Antonio. I already know what the problem is.
Yeah.
My banks are, I mean, I got a guy that called me with a portfolio in your town this week that I've known for 30 years. I'm trying to do a project and my bank's gotten weird on me. Well, we hear that several times a day now. So when banks aren't aggressive is when note opportunities become very opportunistic.
That's we are seeing some just bizarre stuff. I have seen um, a bank use somebody's construction reserves, uh, which is stealing.
It is. That's like really bad. And we're not suggesting all banks are doing something
No,
like that.
that's a
Banks are trying to
one
clean,
time good deal.
banks are generally trying to clean their balance sheets up. They're trying to look better so Big Brother doesn't do something with them that they really don't like.
That's right.
And
We're seeing
yeah.
we're seeing
And
some
so
crazy
we're
stuff.
seeing like an inordinate note inventory. I had lunch with a guy and yesterday, and he said, and I've known him a long time. He says, "Well, he give me a sense of like you say, note inventory's up," and I said, "Yeah." Compared to this time last year, we're bidding on 5 times the amount of notes we were bidding on this time last year. That's pretty much where we are.
Wow. What kind of sorry, I don't want to get too far into the mechanics here. Keep this so for somebody who is intrigued by what you're talking about, buying notes, buying loans, buying paper, as I like to say, you're going to carry the paper.
Yeah,
Um, and they're thinking, okay, I'm sitting on $150,000 or I'm sitting on $500,000 that I'm willing to invest, meaning it's not what I need to pay my bills or keep me fed.
right.
Um, and they're interested. What would you say to them? Because from my standpoint, anyone who ever says to me, should I get a coach? And the answer is yes, of course you should get a coach. As long as they are a good one, they've been through a lot themselves. They've seen things go bad, they've seen things go right. They know the difference. If they're brand new at this and they did 3 deals and they started their coaching program, like run away, don't do that. Go to somebody who's been in this business for a long time and learn everything you can for them and pay whatever they charge because it's totally going to be worth it. You're going to make all your money back. Now, if somebody's interested in notes, clearly, no school, probably the first coaching program about notes out there, or one of the first, probably the longest standing one out there. What
Well,
would you say to them?
we've certainly over, you know, the last 2.5 decades have coached more successful people, right? There's been people with, coaching programs that may have been bigger, but low success rates. We have a fairly high success rate. There's a lot of things they can do. The fastest way, the most compression of time that I could give somebody is that I'm going to give them a little, it's virtual, but it's a master class.
Yeah.
And in about 2 hours, we're going to compress down the things that I think somebody can do when they leave there. And I'm going to give this to them. We do sell this, but I'm going to give it to your audience. We're going to give them a compression of time to say this is a probably a good fit for me, or they could watch it and they're like, this doesn't fit me, right? We can like that's a good way to start, right? Figure out whether you like it or not. We're going to have good examples. We're going to answer a whole bunch of questions from the audience. So you'll find out that maybe not even the question you thought of, but you're like, oh, that is a good question. Like I didn't think of that, but I want to know the answer to it. And we'll have a good combination between, let's just say, chalkboard training, right? Putting it on the board and showing examples, combined with like audience participation. So that's kind of how it works. We're going to make it pretty simple. I want to know who your folks are. So here's what I did. I said, I want to make sure that we have a specific sign in so I know who Sam's people are, right? So it's noteschool.com/clean money.
We'll
Right.
throw that
And
into the show notes. but noteschool.com/clean money to get that free um, masterclass from Eddie here. And there's master classes, and then there's master classes. I've seen people do 3 Airbnb deals and then start master classes on how to buy Airbnb. We're not talking about I just did it once and it worked, maybe, kinda, and now I'm doing a master class. We're talking about tens of thousands of successful purchases and thousands of students. So a master teaching a master class, completely different thing. Um, awesome. Thank you. That's wonderful. And I hope everybody does that. I'm going to do it myself because I'm very interested.
Well, it's funny when you said you were interested, and I've been interviewed, of course, in many podcasts. But usually the people that when I'm interviewed in a podcast and I'm really impressed with the people interviewing as I am today, almost inevitably they say like, Eddie, I'm actually going to do this myself. And I mean, like, so like that tells me that we're connecting with people. This isn't selling something to somebody. This is like saying this is a market condition. Not every time over the last 45 years could I speak with the amount of enthusiasm I have today. Sometimes, we're in a market where it's just better to do something else. And sometimes we're in a market where like what you have stumbled into and figured out over the last long period of time is kind of like a really good thing to do. And I believe the market timing is very good to us.
I agree. I'm seeing so many lenders, they want to offload and they just want it fast off their books so they get their AAA rating by an institution that gets paid to give them AAA ratings. And I won't go into that, but like the optics of all that stuff really, really matter. And so even if people are paying and have paid on the note, they want to get rid of these notes bad because of optics.
Yeah.
And what a great time to come in and buy notes. Also, in the marketplace, you have this aging generation. So we're seeing people want to own or finance a lot of things because they can't operate anymore. Now they don't, they were promised that they were going to get this awesome retirement, and turns out they get nothing. And so now they're like, okay, what can I do? I may have some properties I want to own or finance it, and I'm going to get in some income, but now I'm diseased,
We're
sick.
we're seeing people owner finance rentals because they get so much more net income from the note than they do their rental properties. We're seeing people owner finance rentals at a rate right now. Sam, I've never in my career seen more people selling their rentals and carrying them as owner financing. Like not even like maybe 3 times more than any other market I can ever recall, right? And it's just because the math. We're going to do some of that math in this master class, by the way. We're going to actually pencil that out and say, is that a truth or not? Because
Mhm.
people kind of think like, oh, come on, like really? I
It's
can
true.
comfortably say to you that
I agree.
seller financing most rental properties in your town,
Uh-huh.
like San Antonio or where I live here in Dallas Fort Worth or Atlanta or wherever, right? 2.5 to 3 times the net income of renting.
Yep.
Literally.
I that's I believe it. I got out of that single family rental game because I was making 150 bucks a month, $300 a month on a good rental, and one bad tenant would destroy it. Now the bank has no liability for that. The insurance would cover it for the bank. They didn't have to come out of pocket $5,000 to rehab the house. They're just getting their payment every month.
Yeah.
And so yes, 100%.
And here's the last thing I would say, Sam, and that is this is a very enjoyable business. I would say the one thing I've learned about people that have a bunch of rent houses is it's hard to find a whole bunch of happy landlords, right? If you're more likely to find a group of burnout landlords, right?
Hmm.
And you meet people and people, you and I mutually know people that have notes and they're like, because it takes about I do this math and I think it's close to the real statistics, right? You could own 1,000 notes for what it takes to have 70 rentals. Same work to have 1,000 notes compared to 70 rent houses. People say that's about what I've experienced.
So if you have curious, uh, who manages all those notes?
Servicers.
So just like on your house,
Yeah, I
just like
mean,
on
as
any
you know,
mortgage.
there's some specialty servicers right
Mhm.
in San Antonio or here in Dallas or across the country. We dealt
Yeah.
with a lot of them,
Yeah.
and they service the notes and they take the work out of it. There may be some executive decisions that you need to make. And that's what Note School does, is kind of teach you what those executive decisions are and what risk management decisions you should look at or consider. But yeah, they take most of the work out of it, so you don't have to service the loans yourself. And about 100,000 owner finance notes a year are created nationwide. That is on the upswing for all the things that you just said. You know, conventional lending, underwriting is really, really tight. Affordability is an issue. So there's a lot of people that have been shut out and left behind. And so for those reasons, we're at a growth. The loan originations is shrunk about 70% of traditional bank loan originations or loan mortgage banker originations. Seller financing is on an upswing, and that's probably going to continue until the whole rate thing and the cash flow of rentals and all that stuff kind of settles down. You know, the problem is people with rentals is their rents went up about 20 or 25%, but their expenses went up 60%.
Mm.
That's kind of a problem, isn't it?
That's a that's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting conversation, Eddie. I just want to foot stomp how important it is to learn from people who've been in this business, who really, really understand. Um, and even if you're saying, well, Sam, I just want to invest and have somebody else take care of it all for me. Wonderful. Still go learn about it.
Yeah.
Still take the time to learn so that you can help distinguish, like I got a call earlier this week. Somebody's in a deal, $800,000, huge syndicator. And there's like, Sam, what do I do? And my answer was, well, tell me about the deal. Tenants in common, 1031 exchange, the this big $650 million worth of real estate. And they're about to lose, I don't know, a couple $100 million worth of real estate to foreclosure. Hasn't happened yet. All these notes are in servicing. They're all about to get lost, and they're raising $2 million to try and save between 20 to 30% of their investors' capital on one deal.
It's market timing. You know, I have a
Ooh.
saying, and it may be a riddle, and I kind of made it up, so maybe it's not even cool. I don't know. But I like to say it's better to do the right thing in perfect timing than the wrong thing. The right thing in perfect timing versus the perfect thing in bad timing. You can't fix the market. You can only fix what you position yourself in to do. And
Yep.
so while multifamily was so hot and it shot up like a hockey stick, in values and this and that. Well, look, no real estate investment does that for 20 straight years.
No,
Everything's got a down period.
it does. And just to support that, so we bought an apartment complex, small one in Memphis, Tennessee, about 4 years ago. Great timing to buy. We got it at a good deal. Market went up. We just enjoy the ride. We filled it up, 96% occupancy, running it at a great expense rate, doing just great, good location. The mayor of Memphis changes, a new mayor comes in. They institute this catch and release law. Within the past year, crime in that area has gone up 320 something percent. 320% increase in violent crime. We are crushing it at the operational management of that project. Our property at 96% occupied is better than any of the other ones nearby that are all sitting in the 80s. We're doing great. Our property has lost a ton of value because of external factors outside of our control. I have no control over the crime rate of the city or the politics of the city.
Yeah.
Now, You may say, Sam, you should never have bought in Memphis. And the answer is yes, I should never have bought in Memphis. But there's things that we can't control. But when you're a note buyer, you get a whole lot more control because you're in first position. At the end of the day, the property is going to get sold. That first position will get made whole.
Well, and one of the things that we teach, about doing the business as somebody progresses is like, what's a viable note and which one should you pass on?
Mhm.
We have a saying, we say it's not the loan you pass up that'll keep you up at night, right? Well, so we look at just nice round numbers. We look at 1,000 notes a quarter,
Yeah.
right? Which is a lot, but we've been around a long time. Well, we only bid on 600 of them. And that doesn't mean because we bid on it, we would be willing to buy it. But there's 400 of the 600 we wouldn't even be willing to bid on. So it's a filter. And so that's one of the things that people, like, okay, well, what is that filter? And that's what part of what learning is, as you said. Like,
Mhm.
what have we learned from experience? A lot of this, as you well know, Sam, it ain't book learning, right?
It's not book learning. There's nothing in the books. Like we followed all the book. Can you read the book? Like it says, this is what you do. Oh, we did all that.
Yeah.
It didn't work. The reason it didn't work is because we didn't have the experience and the know-how to analyze that market and say, it's so
Yeah.
squishy and it's always been squishy. We shouldn't buy here. We need stronger markets. So all of our deals in Texas, great. Oklahoma, great. Memphis, Tennessee, terrible.
Mm.
And then like you said, you can have perfect execution in a bad location. It doesn't matter, or bad timing in this case.
Yeah.
What do you do? And we've never missed a note payment on that thing, but the notes do. So now we have to sell or refinance or something. And so that's what do you do?
I think as people progress, if you like real estate, if you like the idea of real estate as your security, then I think people can find a lot of different ways to do this note strategy and really be able to zero in on market timing, right?
Mhm.
I started in this business, you're saying, gosh, 20 years old, Eddie. How in the world does somebody start at 20 years old? Because interest rates were 18% and so many people were seller financing. And I got introduced into the business because there was this gigantic growth in the amount of notes that were out there. So I just stumbled into it because of market timing.
Yeah.
And then I stuck around.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Buddy, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. I look forward to speaking with you again in hopefully not too distant future.
Yes, sir.
For
It's been
those
a great
who
time.
are listening, how can they get a hold of you?
So once again, I want them to go to a master class. I think we can give them a great compression of time. It'll be noteschool.com/clean money. And if you do that, there's a sign up page. We'll get you registered. We're going to give you all kind of deliverables. We got all kind of stuff. I hadn't even made it a big deal about it, but books and Excel spreadsheets and flow charts. So we got some really cool stuff. And it's the quickest way I can think of for you to invest a small amount of time to really say, okay, what does this look like for me? So it's pretty cool.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody goes and does that. It's totally worth your time. Why not learn how to create wealth in a different way in a very, very low risk situation? Obviously, still risk there. That's why you're teaching people as to how to do this, lower their risk, make more money. And yeah, fantastic.
That's it.
All right. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for joining the show. We'll put these links in the show notes. Folks, reach out to Eddie, go to Note School, check him out there. And of course, go to noteschool.com/clean money and get your freebies, learn, get the masterclass from a master. And of course, if you enjoy this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button and give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you thought about Eddie. And if you have any questions, send us questions so we can respond and connect with you. Eddie, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Clean Money, where we talk about sustainable investing that improves society. We are passionate about creating great investment returns to investors who want to use their money to make a positive social impact in the world. If you enjoyed the episode, we'd appreciate a 5-star review. And if you are interested in making your investing matter, please connect with us at wildmountaincapital.com, or you can find me, Samuel Sells, on LinkedIn, on Twitter at Sells_Samuel, on Instagram at Clean Money Sam, or on Facebook. And finally, make your investing matter.